Hello, guys. Welcome back. I'm Brittany, and this is McKinley, and we are on our fourth week of our Psalm 23 series. So we're finishing the chapter Psalm 23 this week, and it's the most often quoted psalm. I hope you guys have been practicing it at home. Hopefully, you guys have been able to memorize some of it or all of it. So it's about how God is our shepherd. And in today's part of Psalm 23, we're celebrating how God overflows our cups with blessings. So I'm going to have McKinley turn to Psalm 23 and read that for you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Great job. So, what kinds of foods or drinks would you love to have overflowing amounts of?
Pizza, pasta salad, Caesar salad.
Yeah.
Pop.
He doesn't get pop very often. So that sounds like we'd have a delicious feast of lots of carbohydrates, right? We'd have overflowing foods. But you know what? Our cups overflow with blessings. And maybe it's not pizza or cookies, but our cups overflow with blessings from God, like his love and his goodness. We're going to find out more from the Bible, and everything the Bible is true, and it's God's message for us. And we're going to look at what he's talking about overflowing us with blessings. So like I said, we've been learning Psalm 23, and it was written as a song about how God is like a shepherd. One thing shepherds do for sheep is they provide for them. In fact, David, who wrote Psalm 23, something you probably should know by now, we've talked about that. He talked about God's provision this way. Do you know what a provision is?
No.
A provision is the action of providing or supplying something for use. So he talked about how God's providing us or supplying us this way as being like a shepherd. Okay. So McKinley is going to read. We're going to focus on Psalm 23:5 and 23:6 today. So she's going to read 23:5 to you guys.
Okay. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows.
All right, she's going to read it one more time.
You prepare the table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows.
My cup overflows. David said that his cup overflowed with blessings. Another way to say that is God blesses us. And that is our Bible point for this week. God blesses us. We're going to make a cup that reminds us of that, okay? So actually, I was going to have you, if you guys have a cup at home, you can get one. And on that cup, you can write, my cup overflows with blessings or whatever. We forgot to get a marker, so we're not going to do that right now. And as we tell our story today, we're going to see what it means to have your cup overflow with blessings. So we're going to find out about a woman in the Bible named Ruth. And this is one of my favorite books of the Bible, actually. I love the Bible, or the book of Ruth. And she had a cup that overflowed with lots of blessings. Okay? So Ruth's story started out with a full cup. She had a full cup. She got married. She was happy. But then one day, her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law, they all died. So she had a cup that was overflowing. She was so happy. She was married. And all of a sudden, all these bad things happened. And then, so her cup didn't seem like it was overflowing with blessings, does it? That's not exactly an overflowing cup. But Ruth followed her mother-in-law Naomi to Judah, and God started giving her blessings. First, Naomi needed food. Ruth decided to go to a farm owned by a rich relative of her father-in-law. She was hoping to pick up any grain that the workers at the farm missed. So, if your parents printed off the Ruth, I forget the title of it, Ruth's Blessing worksheet or whatever, there was a worksheet with a lot of pictures on it. If they printed that out, I want you guys to scatter those pictures on the floor or around, and you can even do a scavenger hunt if you would like with the pictures. So at this time, Ruth was going and getting lots of grain. So I want you to pick up your grain pictures off the floor. Yep, pick your grain pictures. And you can crumple them up, and I want you to fit them into your cup. You can crumple them up if you want. No?
Yeah.
Well, that's how it'll work out better if you crumple them up. Okay, so just take one, pick it up, and crumple it up, and put it in your cup, okay? So Ruth didn't just get a little bit of grain. I want you to listen to this. This is part of our story today. Ruth, chapter 2, verses 8 to 9, and then we're going to also read 15 to 18. So here's 8 to 9 in chapter 2. Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in my field. See which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly, and when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drawn from the well." And the story continues in verse 15. When Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some heads of barley from the bundles and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up and don't give her a hard time." So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that evening, it filled an entire basket. She carried it back into town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the roasted grain that was left over from her meal. So she didn't just pick up a little bit, it filled her basket. So God blesses us. He sure blessed Ruth with food. Boaz also gave her water to drink while she worked. So God provided for her during this time. So can you find the picture of water and crumple it up and put it in your cup? Because our blessing cup is getting full. You don't have to push them down. All right. We're going to see what else God did to bless Ruth. We're going to turn to chapter 4, and we're going to look at verse 9 to 10. When Boaz said to the elders and to the crowd standing around, "You are witnesses that today I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Malone. And with the land I have acquired Ruth, the Moabite widow of Malone, to be my wife. This way she can have a son to carry on the family name of her dead husband and to inherit the family property here in his hometown. You are all witnesses today." So Ruth got married. Can you find the picture of a bride? And you can find the picture of a groom, and you can tape them together if you would like, because they got married. God blessed Ruth with a husband. And you can crumple those up and put them in your cup. So God filled her cup with the blessing of a new husband. McKinley found the bride and groom and put them together, and she's going to put them in her cup. And that's not all that God did, right? God blesses us, and he filled Ruth's cup with plenty of food, a wealthy husband, and more. And then she had a baby to carry on the name. So find your baby paper, crumple it up, and put it in your cup. And here's something really cool about that baby that Ruth and Boaz had. His name was Obed. When Obed grew up, he got married, and he and his wife had a son named Jesse. Jesse grew up and had a son named David. I'm sure you guys have all heard about David in the Bible, right? And who wrote Psalm 23? What was his name?
David.
David. That was David. The baby wasn't David. David was Jesse's son. It was in line of Ruth and Boaz's baby. So David was the guy that wrote Psalm 23. He was Ruth's great grandson, and he also became a king. Have you heard about King David? And not only that, though, David was one of Jesus's great grandparents. Pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because of that, I want you to find your cross picture and crumple it up and put it in your thing. Oh, look, our cup is overflowing now. We've seen how God blessed Ruth with food and family. God blesses us too. And it looks like there's still room in our cups a little bit. Is there room in your cup a little bit?
Tiny bit.
Well, you can, on some pieces of paper, you can write about some blessings that God has given you, and you can tear those off and put them in your cup as well. What's some things God blessed you with?
Your house.
A house, a shelter over your head.
The things you own.
Your
parents.
Things you own.
Like your room and everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
And your parents.
Your parents. He's blessed you with parents.
My brother.
With a sibling, yeah.
Even though we don't always get along.
Yeah.
The Bible.
With the Bible, with God's word, with his promises and his truths. So as you write those down, you can take them and crumple them up and put them in your cup. And you can truly see that all these blessings overflow. Oops, it even fell out. Our cup. So in Psalm 23, it lists some more blessings. And if you look at verse 6, 23:6, it'll help us figure out what some more of those blessings are.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
So some of those blessings that God is going to bless us with are goodness,
love,
unfailing love, and also that we get to live with the Lord in his house forever. Right? So you could even write those on your papers and put those in your blessings cup as well. So that is all we have for the Bible story portion of our lesson. We're going to move over to our dig deeper portion. And so for our dig deeper section of our lesson today, we are going to dig deep into the question of, is everyone blessed? What about the people that are suffering? Are they blessed too? We've learned that God blesses us, David celebrated God's blessings in Psalm 23, writing that his cup overflowed with them. But sometimes people don't feel blessed. They might be sick or going through a hard time. So, is everyone blessed? What about people that are suffering? We're going to dig into that. So, what are some things people usually consider blessings?
Like I said,
Family,
shelter,
happiness, money, friends, health. Those are some good blessings. So, for example, when our cups overflow, when we have lots of money coming in from whatever, we feel blessed. Or when we're really happy about stuff, we feel blessed. When we have lots of friends and we're hanging out with them all the time, we feel blessed. And good health, that can be a blessing too, right? So, what are some situations in life that don't feel like blessings?
Well, sometimes if you're struggling in school,
Mm-hmm.
school doesn't feel like a blessing.
Yeah, but it can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're sick, you don't really feel very good. That you can feel like you're not being blessed at the time. When you're struggling with money and how to pay bills, that could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things in life happen that feel like, well, like our cups are empty, right? And they're not overflowing. Some people, like I said, might not have money. They might struggle to buy food or pay their bills. And so we're going to read in Philippians 4, 12 and 13. So if you want to turn there with me, Philippians 4, 12 to 13. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. So the guy who wrote that was Paul, and he experienced times when he was rich and powerful. But he'd also faced times when he was hungry and in prison. And you know what? That didn't matter. Either way, Paul knew that he was blessed with God's strength. Sometimes life feels happy, but other times people feel like they don't have anything to be happy about. So that's another time that we might not feel very blessed. So we're going to look at Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. So those words were originally written to God's people when they were about to go through years of hard, sad times. They were stuck in a land far from home where they'd been taken as captives, but they were still blessed. That's because God promised hope for the future. It says, I will give you a future and a hope. Some people have an overflowing amount of love with their families, but other people, they have a really difficult family life, and family doesn't feel like a blessing to them. They may not feel that there's any love in their family's cup. So let's look at Psalm 23:6 again. You want to read that one?
Yeah, let me get to it first.
Kinley's trying to find it so she can read it to you. Psalm 23:6.
There it is. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
So even when we don't have love from our families, we always have God's unfailing love. That's a blessing. and your cup is never empty of love. Sometimes another thing is our cup overflows with friendship, but other times we can get pretty lonely. We might feel like we don't have any friends at all, and our friend cup is pretty empty, right? So turn to Isaiah 43:2. Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2. When you go through deep waters, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up. The flames will not consume you. So even if we don't have any friends, God blesses us with his friendship by always sticking with us. That's an awesome blessing. And it's great to have an overflowing cup of good health. But there are people who are really, really sick. They may even be dying. We're going to see what their blessing can be, even when their cup of health is empty. Revelation, all the way in the back of the Bible. Revelation 21:4. Would you like to read it?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Super.
Yep.
Pages stick together, huh? 21:4. Over here somewhere.
He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things is passed away.
So sometimes God heals people from sickness on earth, and that's a blessing. But sometimes God heals us in heaven instead. And either way, we can have hope of a life one day with no pain and no sadness. That sounds like a pretty good blessing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you can see, we kind of went through that a little bit fast. I probably should have went a little bit slower. But I hope you can see through these verses that in tough situations that you might be facing where you don't feel like you're being blessed at the time, that God does bless us. We can find blessings in almost every situation we're put in. And sometimes they happen quickly and sometimes not at all. I mean, there's been times I went through a hard time and I haven't seen the blessing until later on when I'm out of that situation, and looking back, I can see how God blessed me. So I hope those verses, you guys can carry those with you and use them when you need to help you guys realize that God blesses us. So I hope you guys have enjoyed learning about Psalm 23. It's been fun for me. I've really enjoyed it. There's been some really good verses that we've talked about, and that I've been kind of keeping in my head and replaying even, to help me right now. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We will be back sometime. I'm not sure if we'll do one next week, but we'll be back with you guys. I'm trying to come up with some ideas for the children's ministry. I really miss seeing all of you guys, and I hope you guys have been having a great summer. So we'll be back sometime with something fun. So you want to say bye?
Bye.
See you guys.